Hey everybody, today we're going to be looking at the Texas, U.S. Navy Battleship Tier 5. She is an interesting ship. I do win a lot in it. It's not a bad ship, but you do have to work for your wins with it and think about 3 steps ahead. It's not a bad thing. It's a good trainer. First and foremost, she's a big gun ship, so she's got her 356mm guns, 10 of them, 10 barrels that is. This middle one here is a little bit slower to turn than the others, it seems. It's usually out of position, but there's your layout. You've got the middle turret, and then you've got the more conventional fore and aft turrets. Anti-aircraft's okay. It's not bad. But one of the worst things about this ship is the secondaries, of which basically there are none. She trades extra anti-aircraft performance for less secondaries, so fewer, 6 to be exact. This is just sad. So very sad. This ship, battleships need secondaries. Without secondaries, you're just going to be crying all the time, wishing you had secondaries when those destroyers run up to you and torpedo you, and you just watch them do it because you're on a reload. So 6 secondaries, 3 per side is not enough. The ship needs more. On the elite bonus, I've gone with the hit points, and the anti-aircraft boost may as well accentuate the positive, and the torpedo damage reduction instead of just the plain old torpedo damage reduction. I think it's the best loadout, but anybody going to torpedo damage reduction by 10% is not a bad choice either. The historical camo boosts the hit points, firing range, very important. It lowers the dispersion on the guns, which enables long-range shooting, makes it actually possible. Without this camo, I question the ability to do so with any sort of accuracy. For equipment, I've got the rammer ongoing, the traverse acceleration to be able to turn faster. She's actually not bad at that, and then of course the torpedo damage reduction. So the you could easily go with the acceleration, but I think I've got the good loadout. Here we got reload, ship speed, and anti-aircraft again. Try to accentuate the positive aspects of the ship, and that's the loadout here. You can see the specs in game. She's currently in a tech tree available for purchase all the time, so you can just go check that out. Let's get into some gameplay. We're going to start off with a losing battle. I want to show you what not to do, which is drift away from the team. Try to stay with your team as much as possible. She requires the team for 2 reasons. You can see here on the sped up little mini map, right about here, I kind of pull off to the side looking for some shots, not wanting to extend in, but the ship is so slow that the rest of the team just pulls away, and they're no longer supported by me, which means, especially with bots, that they're going to take some heavy losses. And sure enough, they do, and eventually get picked off one by one. I noticed that the cap's being capped, so go down, but then it's okay, fight down there. But you can see that we've just more or less been wiped out, and then it's me alone, and the end of the battle. Really getting into this situation where you're all on your own is not good for this ship. You rely on destroyers and cruisers to protect you from enemy destroyers. That's really what it amounts to. So unlike some of the other battleships which can brawl and fight all day, the Texas really does require some team support in order to do well in. That being said, against bots it's not so bad. When I've played against all human teams, that's where the support comes into play. Again, you can see here all my guns are pretty much trained on, except for that slower middle one. I don't know if it's actually slower or just out of position more often. I haven't done any timing, but it's certainly slower. The ship's armor is more than adequate, especially if you're bow on, but then of course you lose so much firepower. You lose 3/5 of your firepower by being bow on, but you do get that nice tough armor. Slightly angled, you lose a little bit of your armor, but you know what? The trade-off for the gain in firepower is worth it. Of course, like all battleships against destroyers, fire high explosive only. It's really you need to do this. If you fire AP, it's just going to punch right through and do very little damage, and you're going to have basically a whole bunch of face full of torpedoes shortly thereafter. So definitely use the high explosives. If nothing else, it'll give a human player pause for thought before he starts in a torpedo run. Against cruisers, HE or AP is adequate. I find AP will still get some low rolls as they punch right through, but certainly for the most part, if you have AP loaded against cruisers, you should be okay. The lack of secondaries means, though, when you get in close to cruisers, the cruisers, many of them sport torpedoes. So again, with the lack of secondaries, this ship is quite a bit more challenging. You're going to have to rely on your reload boost. You're going to have to rely on being smart and being well angled all the time against incoming fire. You can be lucky and hope that you get a good team, or that the red team isn't so good. But this ship, especially for beginners, I don't see it performing as well. I'm going to guess that the Arkansas at tier 4, I'm going to guess because it's a crate ship. I can't buy it outright, so I'm not going to be reviewing that one. The only one I won't be reviewing because I just can't buy it. I have to gamble to get it, and I don't want to do that. So, but if you're lucky enough to get it in Arkansas, it's probably going to be the better ship, but I'm just guessing. Its complete lack of anti-aircraft on the Arkansas could be a detriment, or maybe not at tier 4. I don't know. Again, I don't have that ship. I can't review it. I'm just guessing, but I think that if the Arkansas ever were offered for straight up purchase, that would probably be the better purchase over the Texas in terms of strength for its tier. That being said, I usually do have good battles in a Texas. I usually do score well. I have a winning record with it, 65%, I believe, all solo. Many of the battles, full player teams or mostly player teams, because it's at tier 5. So really, it's not a bad ship, but definitely it rewards the players that can think 3 steps ahead, keep an eye on the mini-map, and not drift too far from the team. The loadout selection for AP versus HE, it's important to understand the benefits of both and when to use both. If you know that, then the ship will do well with you, or you will do well with the ship. Will I recommend this ship? Yeah, for sure. It's not a bad ship, but because of its obvious weaknesses and the lack of secondaries and its lack of speed, and the fact that you have to be a seasoned player to get the most from it, it's definitely not a ship for beginners, and I'm going to recommend beginners stay away from it. When I first got the ship, I did not have the historical camo on it. Gun dispersion at range was not workable, so definitely if you're going to get the ship, go the whole 9 yards, get the historical camo as well, and you'll do quite well with it. If you're a seasoned player, new players, this may not be the best choice. The Marblehead at tier 5, I don't like it that much, but it is I think a more well-rounded ship than the Texas in terms of types of play styles you can do with it, and it's a little bit more forgiving in terms of map coverage and getting yourself out of trouble a little bit more easily, and covering different parts of the map a little bit more easily as well. That might be the better beginner's premium ship, but the Texas is certainly no underperformer. It's battleships worth looking at if you can handle the battles. If you can do well in the tech tree ships, battleships up to this point, up to tier 5, you'll probably do just fine with the Texas. The lack of secondaries notwithstanding, as long as you stay close to the team, that won't be too much of an issue. This next battle here went a little bit better than the last one. You can see there both sides are populated by humans, so this is kind of what you can expect. Human versus human team, no bots involved, which is going to be much more common once the game goes live on the 18th. Wargaming was doing the server update today, so I don't think the client's getting updated today, but the server updated today and booted me out of a game. I was in the middle of fighting in North Carolina. It was a really good game. I was carrying myself versus 4, and then it just cut out. Boom. It's like, oh man. But what can you do, right? The better thing to do would have been wait for all matches to be stopped and then shut down the server, but whatever. It's just the game. At least it's the same for everybody.
Roger that.
Everybody's games are interrupted, so the game, I would imagine, wouldn't count. I'll see when I log in again. Here we go. With this battle here, you can see I've got my guns ready on one side. The side I'm expecting red ships to pop up on. And I've got the high explosive loaded because there's 2 destroyers in the battle. The moment there's more than one destroyer, I load HE with my battleships right away, and kind of ignore battleships and cruisers at the start, because you can bet that the destroyers are going to be up front, and you want to get them out of the battle as quickly as possible. So starting off the battle with a high explosive loadout is a smart choice. You can see the lack of secondaries here are being detrimental with other battleships with a good number of secondaries here. I'd be cutting this destroyer to pieces instead of waiting for my mains to reload. Even close up, sometimes the high explosive isn't enough to take him out, but there I got him. Another thing to get more used to doing as we all go forward, I don't do this enough either, is using the commands in game for requesting support, thanking for support, that sort of thing. I'm going to make the conscious effort in the next few weeks as the game goes live and more players are playing it, that those commands are going to be more worthwhile to use. The advantages, of course, letting people know when you're in trouble, what the better strategy is, group up, spread out, that sort of thing. It's going to be abused like crazy by the new players as well, so it might take some weeks for everything to settle down, but eventually I think it will be a decent enough system. And in a ship like the Texas, where you can easily wind up facing multiple red ships at once, just because they catch up to you pretty quickly with your 21 knot top speed. It doesn't take much for red ships to catch you and keep up to you and just hound you and attack you all at the same time. It does happen quite often. The calling for help will hopefully, once the game and the initial players become more seasoned, be something worthwhile to do, hopefully. You can see here the team. I'm not sure what our Clemson is doing. He's kind of not really capturing, sitting on the line. Maybe he's gone AFK. I'm not sure, but anyway, back onto the topic at hand. The accuracy at range with the historical camo is quite workable. You can see here that I can get shots on target. It's still a battleship, so there's still dispersion galore. You can still wind up with shots that miss, like 2 of the 4 there, so 50% hit rate, which isn't really bad in a battleship. 40% I think is for long distance shots is roughly the average. So
fast reload activated.
The ship is not horrible when it comes to the principal gunnery from the main guns, but the lack of secondaries, again, when you're brawling, it's really tough. If you're facing a 2-on-1, the lack of secondaries means you're probably going to lose. If you have your reload boost, you might eke out enough damage on both of them that teammates may finish them off later on. But generally speaking, if you're alone on a 2-on-1 with this ship, and it's two battleships or battleship with a cruiser, you're in for a bad time of it. You may survive. If it's a battleship and a cruiser, you may just survive. My recommendation would be finish off the cruiser as quickly as possible if she's got torpedoes. If she doesn't have torpedoes, still finish the cruiser off first. A couple salvos should do it, and hopefully the battleship won't cut into you too much, but you're not going to finish off the battleship in 2 salvos. It'll be a lot more. So if you can knock out the cruiser first, at least you've done that and gotten the points there for your team, and in the meantime you can maybe reduce the battleship down to enough that your teammates will knock the ship out. So you can see here, nice groupings, some good contact at range. 7 kilometers, 8 kilometers is easy to hit targets, or easier to hit targets. 10 kilometers, it starts getting more difficult to hit things accurately. See there, I launched some high explosive trying to get them on fire before the time ran out. But in any event, it's a victory. It's not a bad victory at all. You can see the biggest challenge with Texas is moving across the map and covering enough of the map as to be useful to the team. You can easily start off the battle on the right flank or the left flank and wind up far out of position for the rest of the battle, and you just can't get over fast enough to carry. So these are definitely big considerations with the Texas. Going up the middle is very viable, although if your teammates break left and right and nobody's with you, you'll easily get into those 2-on-1, 3-on-1 situations I was mentioning by going up the middle. It happens, but again, going up the middle means you can cover left and right with the long range on your guns and be more useful, and you don't have to travel quite as far to carry on the left or the right flank. So I've said my piece. Would I buy this ship again if I somehow wound up without it in my my fleet tomorrow? The answer, unfortunately, is no, I wouldn't. Like I said, it's not a bad ship, but there are better ships out there. Certainly, I think the Marblehead, you're in more control of the battle than you are with the Texas. Because it's a little bit less team dependent, although it's also not a great performer. And certainly tier 5, one of the best premiums in game, the Kamikaze, is available. So if you're looking for a tier 5 premium, the Kamikaze is available and the Texas is available. Go with the Kamikaze, hands down, easy decision. If you prefer to drive battleships or you're from the great state of Texas, by all means buy the ship. It's not, like I said, a bad ship, but there are certainly better ships out there. She earnings wise, she doesn't do anything better than any of the tech tree ships, and with the economy the way it is right now, until something gets fixed, she'll never do much better than a tech tree ship. Just that's the way the economy is rolling right now in the before update 1.0. So do keep that in mind. All the earning stuff is subject to change. The ship is unlikely to receive any buffs, certainly not going to receive any secondaries, so that's really built onto the model. And the key difference between the Texas and the New York, which is the in-game variant, the New York has more secondaries on the top deck in place of the anti-aircraft that the Texas has. So I'll leave you with to watch the rest of the battle here. I'm not going to present any more information, so if you're done watching, you're done watching. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on another review. I'm working on the last couple reviews for the purchasable premium ships in the game, so keep your eyes peeled for those in the near future. And take care.
Good hit job. The enemy! Enemy aircraft incoming! Our team is about to win. Good job! Fast reload activated. We hit the enemy!